Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining. So let's just jump right into it, okay? So now you have joined our little workshop. We're literally going to work together on a couple of little exercises that hopefully will be inspirational to you and see again how we work and how we operate here. So just in case any of you missed the previous presentation, I'm going to give you a couple of highlights. What we started out with was a story about starting off here at the edge of the forest, and our goal was to cut a path through these trees, build a road to a mountaintop beyond, which basically was a metaphor for working through all these challenges to get to our outcome and goals, which is the top of the mountain in the distance. And when we're in the trees, right, at ground level here, all we see are trees, right? So again, what we're trying to represent here is that when we've got our nose to the grindstone and we're just working hard and trying to get our job done, it's really hard to see those mountains in the background and keep a really good eye and good focus on what our real long-term goals and objectives are, okay? And then we talked about how if you just put your nose to the grindstone and go through those trees to cut that path, you might run into things like a river here and then be forced to backtrack, and now you have to build a bridge because you didn't know there was a river here. Okay, we told a story about that. All right, and then ultimately what we're trying to paint a picture of is that if you're able to get above the trees, remember we were down at ground level before and all we saw were trees. If we can get above the trees, now we can see the mountains in the background. We can see the river that's going to be in our way. We can see the bridge out to the left that's already built. And it helps us to build a plan that will actually be faster and better and more efficient than just going straight through the forest, running into the river, having to build another bridge and so forth, okay? Then we talked about how DesignPoint has transitioned our business. We still are, will be forevermore a SolidWorks reseller, a DriveWorks reseller, Mark4's reseller, right? Those are things that will always be, core competencies and a core focus of ours. But we're trying to continue to build our business as a growth advisory firm, right? So that we can act as a Sherpa was the example that I used, right? Or a guide to help you make your way to the mountaintops, okay? Only because this is what we do. We do it every day, right? So again, it's not necessarily because we're any smarter than anybody else, or that we have some top secrets that other people don't. It's because we have climbed this mountain many times, and not with one or two clients, not with a dozen clients, with hundreds of clients, helping them identify what the goals are and the opportunities and build a plan to get there. We launched our growth advisory services formally a couple of years ago. We have a dedicated page on our website for it. And now we're going to dig into a workshop, okay? So if you haven't done so already, please take a moment to grab a calculator and either something to write with or something to take notes with. This will not be anywhere near as meaningful for you if you just follow along and don't actually participate. Okay, so I encourage you to please take a moment, grab those things now so that we can do this, okay? All right, hopefully everybody's ready. So we're gonna focus first on the 1% tool. We developed this pretty early on, right? So what we've done as we've launched this growth advisory side of our business is build tools that help us understand, build tools that help us convey information, build tools to help visualize what we're doing, how we're doing it, why we're doing it, things like that. This is just one tool. And I like to do this one really early on. Sometimes even before we do an assessment, we'll go through this exercise. And the idea of it is to understand at your company what 1% efficiency gain is worth, okay? So again, I'm just going to keep reinforcing, please use your information. Think about your company. And these are the data points that I'd like you to think about, okay? And we're going to focus today in this exercise just on the SolidWorks users, because I figured you guys know most about that. Just the SolidWorks users in your company, okay? How many of them are there? Literally write that down, please. Okay. Doesn't matter what the number is, 2, 14, 76, doesn't matter. Please write down that number. How many hours per day SolidWorks is in usage, and do it by average, because obviously if you've got more than one person, you could say, well, you know, Jeremy uses it 8 hours a day, but Helen only uses it 2 hours a day. That's going to be the case in every scenario. Think about average. On average, how many hours per day are each of these users using SolidWorks? Okay. Are they full-time? Are they working 5 days a week? Whatever that number of days per week is, please write that down. Now we have to figure out how many weeks per year we want to account for, right? So we've got 52 weeks to work with. Everybody probably gets 2 to 4 weeks of vacation. There's some holidays, there's some PTO, right? So please use your numbers. In my example, I used 45, right? So I said all in, and I think this is ultra conservative, by the way. All in, we're only counting in my example for 45 out of 52 weeks per year. Okay. Then the final bullet for most people early on, this is the hardest one because you may not be familiar with what your company uses for a fully burdened engineering hour when they're doing this kind of analysis. Okay. But trust me, there are folks in every company, CFO, president, COO, VP level, somebody there's got to know what your fully burdened engineering hours are being accounted for at, what rate they're being counted at. And I just want to make sure it's clear, this is not salary. It includes salary, but it's not limited to salary. So we're accounting for salary, benefits, right? The cost of your computer, the cost of your software annually, upgrades, right? All of that gets calculated into a fully burdened hour because if they hire you to use SolidWorks, they have to buy a computer probably, right? They have to buy software. They've got to keep the software maintained, blah, 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 blah. So we account for all of that. In this example, I use 75. Now let me put that in perspective for you, okay? For those of you who know me, I'm in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Here, our fully burdened rates are going to be on the lower end. And around here, we're going to see rates somewhere between like $60 to $80 per hour, okay? New York City, it's going to be somewhere in the 110 to 150 range maybe, okay? And everywhere in between. So for my example, I used $75 an hour because I wanted to be way towards the conservative end. Okay, but please use your numbers, okay? And I do recognize we could shorten this formula, okay? But I like to walk through each point because when we do that, it really emphasizes how conservative the numbers are, right? And remember, we're only accounting for SolidWorks usage, okay? Let's go through it. So in my example, so that we can compare numbers, I'm talking about a small to mid-sized company. My example has 8 SolidWorks users. Okay, and they're using SolidWorks 6 hours a day on average, 5 days a week, 45 weeks per year at $75 an hour. Okay, you guys are probably better at math than I am. Let's go through it, right? So 8 people times 6 hours a day, it's 48 hours per day for the team, right? Take that 48 times the number of days per week, it's 240 engineering hours per week. Take the weekly times the number of weeks we want to account for. In my case, 45, 240 engineering hours times 45, 10,800 engineering hours per year. And then multiply that by your fully burdened rate. And in this case, it comes out to $810,000 a year. Now, I want to stop here for a moment and really reinforce this, okay? It's only 6 hours a day. We didn't account for 8. We're trying to only account for the SolidWorks usage because in this example, what we're talking about is what is the value of improving the SolidWorks usage, the SolidWorks efficiency by 1%, okay? So we're only accounting for 6 hours a day, not 8. We're only accounting for 45 weeks per year, not 52. And we're at the conservative end of the fully burdened rate, okay? So in this case, we come up with $810,000 a year. I hope you did your own math so you have your own number, okay? So we don't have to be a math whiz to figure out what that means. That means that 1% is worth, in this example, $8,100 a year. Okay, give me a sec here. Now, whatever your number is, okay, don't lose sight of that because we're going to use it here. The way I want you to think about this is now that we understand what 1% is worth, what do we do with that? Here's what we do. Let's say in this organization where there's 8 users, let's say these 8 users have been using SolidWorks for a minimum of 3 years up to 15, right? So these are all experienced users, okay? And what if DesignPoint came and said, hey guys, what we want to do is put a level up, that's what we like to call it, a level up plan together for you and your team, right? Everybody is already a good user. Maybe some of you are even great users, right? But can we agree that the opportunity for improvement is greater than 0? Okay, soak that in for a minute. Can we agree that the opportunity for improvement, no matter how long you've been using SolidWorks, I'll challenge all of you in a friendly way, okay? The opportunity is greater than 0. Great, or hopefully everybody's bobbing their head yes. Great, well then let's start with 1%. In this case, 1% is worth $8,100 at this company, right? So we put a level up program together, and I'm totally winging this, guys, right? So what if DesignPoint comes back and says, you know what, we're going to put an advanced training bundle together for those 8 users. Doesn't matter how long you've been using SolidWorks. We want everybody to go from wherever they're at to a little bit better, okay? In that training bundle, pick a big number here. I'm going to try to scare everybody. That number's, I don't know, $24,000 a year, or $24,000 for the training, okay? Not a year, right? So we're proposing that you invest $24,000 for this level up plan to take people that already know how to use SolidWorks and train them more, right? Now, I can tell you from a lot of years, Lori was kind. I've actually been here for over 20 years, okay? I can tell you after 20 years, I can't remember a single customer going, heck yeah, that makes all the sense in the world. Who do I send the check to for $24,000? Nobody does. Everybody has the same reaction, which is, oh my gosh, $24,000, that's a lot, okay? Now, I don't want to diminish, that's a significant investment, but here's what's cool. We go back to our 1% tool. What that means is that we have to feel comfortable that we believe that across that team, we can get 3% better than we are today. 3%. Because this is where I'm going to get challenging with you, right? I don't care how long you've been using SolidWorks. I don't care how good you are compared to the other people in your company. If you believe you can't get better by 3%, let's have a conversation, because I'm confident, very confident, even people with lots of experience can get 5%, 10% more productive if they continue to train every few years, okay? So when we know what 1% is worth, we know what 5% is worth, we know what 10% is worth, right? We can now visualize, well, shoot, if we send these people to training, you know, I would expect them to be 5% better. Well, 5 times 8 is 40, right? So we would expect a $40,000 return for a $24,000 investment. Sounds like a pretty good investment to me, right? That's what this 1% tool does for us. And we can apply it to anything, right? If we go in there and we say, well, we think we need PDM, now we know we need PDM, but boy, PDM is expensive. It's a significant investment. I'm not going to trivialize that. I'm not going to diminish that. It's a significant investment. Absolutely. And it has very significant returns, right? So if we look at a PDM potential investment and we go, well, we would expect to get, because we can automate a bunch of systems and processes, right? Eliminate some errors that slow us down. We should expect 15, 20% efficiency gains. Well, 20%, right? That's a big number, right? So now we can compare what an investment costs to what we expect to get in return in a different way than we probably ever did before. What most companies do is they go back and say, well, we're thinking about PDM. We can shave off, 3 minutes here and 1 minute there and 30 minutes there. You can do that. And I'm telling you, it gets to a point where you don't believe your numbers anymore, okay? Because there's so many data points that you could question every single one of them. You go, well, okay, maybe we won't save 30 minutes, we'll only save 25. Now we have to do the math over. I'm going to suggest you don't do that. When you start, go into it thinking, yeah, if we were to make that kind of investment, we would expect to improve by 10, 15, 20, 30, 50%, whatever the case may be, based on your current conditions, right? Your as-is state, the systems and processes that you use, okay? Figure out what you would expect, do your 1% exercise and compare the numbers, okay? And one of the beauties to this, guys, is that it removes like 90% of the selling, right? We don't ever want you to feel like we're selling to you. Instead, what we hope happens is you have a need, we have a potential solution. Now we have to figure out if it makes sense. The 1% tool is part of that solution. It helps us figure out whether it makes any sense to spend that money or not, okay? But there's always an area for us to focus on where improvement is there to be had and it's within reach. Our job is to help figure out what it's worth versus what it costs to make sure it's a good investment for you, okay? So I want you to walk through a couple of other thoughts related to this, okay? So think about your user group, right? Internal user group of SOLIDWORKS users, right? And think about who the best user is on the team, okay? And write it down. I think it's good to write it down. Jack, Jill, Cookie Monster, whoever it is, okay? And think about how much better or how much more productive that person is as compared to the rest of the people. This happens everywhere, guys. You've got super users everywhere. Sometimes it's because they've been using the tools longer. Sometimes they just have an aptitude for that kind of software. It doesn't matter what the reason is. It's very common to have a couple of really, really good users compared to the rest, right? And then think about what that gap is, right? Are they 10% more productive than the rest of the group? Are they 20%? Are they 50%? Okay. In my case, or in my example, I highlighted 20, just grabbed a number in the middle, okay? So now imagine, so let's say that here at DesignPoint, our most productive SOLIDWORKS user is Cookie Monster. Yep, more productive than Julio, more productive than Parkhurst, right? Cookie Monster's the guy, okay? So try to imagine then what the rest of your team, what their productivity level would be if they were at the same level. Now, been doing this a long time, and I can tell you that almost in every case, people will say, oh, that'll never happen. Maybe it won't. So if Cookie Monster is 20% more productive than everybody else, we don't have to close that gap. What if we got the rest of the team up to a point where Cookie Monster is only 10% more productive than the rest of the group? See where I'm going with this, right? What we're trying to do is help you envision what the impact on your business will be if you decide to focus on leveling up your team, right? Because honestly, in most cases, if I say, well, just imagine if you had a whole team of Cookie Monsters, if everybody was that good, that productive, people, you can see it in their eyes. Wow, that would make such an impact. We could get so much more done. It would take us so much less time to get each project done. We could do more projects. We could sell more products, and therefore, design and manufacture more. Blah 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 blah. That's the power, right? The theme of today is the power of one. That's the power of understanding what the value of 1% is. Okay, so let us stop here and see if there's any questions or comments. Lori, would you mind opening things up so that others can comment or ask questions?
Sure thing. Before that, I actually want to say that Steve dropped a really cool comment. He said, I remember several years ago, I reviewed an existing workflow that was used heavily. After removing several time bottlenecks, I cut our process time down by 12%.
Love it. Love it.
But what I'm going to do to Brett's point is allow you all to talk. So I hope you guys aren't listening to like some rap music in the background. I'm just going to allow all you guys to talk. And that means that you can unmute yourselves and provide us with some feedback.
Don't be shy. Anybody have any questions? Anybody willing to share what their 1% number was? No?
I want to make sure. And I did allow you to talk, but that does mean that you're on mute. So you would have to unmute yourself. I can ask you. So I might just be brave and force you guys.
All right, I don't want to put anybody in a tough spot, but before we move on, if there's any questions, please put that in the Q&A or the chat, whichever you prefer. No? Okay, we can move on.
All righty.
Or you want to close that down, the chat or the audio down? Okay. All right, let's move on. Okay, for exercise number 2, this is called a 2-minute blitz. Okay, so here's how it goes. I'd like for you to think about 3 high priority issues that should be solved at your company in the next 12 months. Okay, and just again, please write it down. This is really important that you write it down. The way that you write it is just for you. It's not something I'm going to ask for you to send to us or anything like that, right? Just write it in simple words that you understand that will describe what the issue is, that and come up with 3 of them, please. Let me give everybody a minute or so to do that. While you're thinking about that, I'm going to show you a few examples. Okay, so again, just trying to feed the thought process. I came up with number 1, an ECO process is slow and error prone. Number 2, mistakes on drawings are being found in the shop, which is resulting in delays. And number 3, manual data entry into the ERP system is time consuming and error prone. Those are the 3 things that I came up with as examples. So I'll give you another minute or so. Okay. What I'd like for you to do next is circle one of them that you want to use for this 2-minute blitz. Okay, so I chose my number 3. So please circle one of your items, one of your ideas. Okay, and okay, before we begin, I have a couple of things that I'll request. Please, this does not work at all if there are any distractions. So I would ask you to please put your phone away or turn it upside down. I would ask you to, if you think better with music on, put it on or leave it on. If that will distract you in any way, remove it. If your door is open right now and you can hear others, I'd ask you to close it. Anything you can do to get into your zone for 2 minutes, okay? That's all I need is 2 minutes of undivided attention. This is for you, okay? So as we get into this, right, when we remove all the distractions, here's some kind of rules that we'll go by. No idea is a bad idea. What I'm going to ask you to do once we hit go or once we start is I want you to think about your issue that you decided to resolve, and I just want you to do a stream of consciousness. Every idea you can think of that you think will have a positive impact on that issue, even if it's not a full solution to the problem, if it will positively impact that problem, get into your zone. And I mean, just type away or write away. And if you're writing on paper, see if you can fill the whole sheet. And if you can fill the whole sheet in 2 minutes, turn it over and start on the back, okay? Try to type as many ideas, gamify it, right? As many ideas as you can. Think about you get 5 points for each one you write down. Whatever it's going to take to just gather as many ideas as you can, okay? This is a blitz. That's what it's meant to do, okay? So what we're going to do here, I'm going to turn my phone over and I'm going to get a stopwatch. We're going to go for 2 minutes. So hopefully everybody's ready and hopefully everybody is clear. Again, think about your issue and just every idea you can think of that will help related to that issue for 2 minutes. You're going to be surprised how long 2 minutes is. Please keep going. Okay, ready? Go. Okay, we're about 30 seconds in, a minute 30 to go. Keep going. Okay, we're about 1 minute in, 1 minute to go. Okay, about 30 more seconds. Try to fill the page. All right, finish up your last couple of things there. We're almost out of time. Okay, time. All right, so hopefully everybody's ready. Before I start speaking too much about this, I want to see if anybody has any feedback before I share any thoughts and what we do next with this, okay? So anybody surprised by the exercise so far? Anybody willing to share how many ideas you came up with? Was it helpful? Again, I'm going to talk more about this and what we do with the results, but before I do that, is anybody willing to share any comments? Doesn't look like we have anything, right, Lori?
I don't think so. But I'll make it comfortable for you guys. Again, you can either unmute yourselves to chime in, or you can add it into the chat. You can raise your hand.
Yeah, it's a workshop, guys. It's meant to be bi-directional, so hopefully you're willing to share some thoughts. I'm gonna walk you through what we do with this next, okay? Looks like we have something in chat.
Someone said, good way to identify our issues.
Yeah. All right, well, let's jump into it. So here are the main points that I want to make for you, right? So this is a tool, right? And all we're doing right now is coming up with ideas for solutions, right? And there's so much more to do. This isn't to suggest that, oh, wow, in 2 minutes, we just solved all the problems of the company. What we do with the 2-minute blitz is, in this case, in this exercise, this was a one-to-one exercise. Well, one-to-many, if you talk about everybody that's included, but only one person on your team was involved. So imagine if we were in a growth advisory engagement, right? And we went through this exercise and we're working on a whiteboard and we came up with a list of issues to solve, right? We all agreed on one to work on. This is how it would go, right? So the group, right, would say, okay, we're going to work on this. I'm pointing at our whiteboard, by the way. You know, we're all going to work on this solution. And then we just spend 2 minutes. And all the people that are involved in that engagement, whether they be SolidWorks users, managers, the president of the company, everybody in between, right? Whoever's involved, everybody is spending 2 uninterrupted minutes to just blitz every idea they could possibly come up with, right? Without worrying about whether it's a good idea or a bad idea, whether we tried it before and it didn't work, whatever all the stuff is that gets in the way of good ideas, we remove that. And now imagine as a group going through not one person's list of ideas. What if we had 5 or 10 people involved? Imagine collectively how many great ideas we would come up with. So let's say, for example, on your piece of paper, you came up with 15. I'm just picking a number. You came up with 15 ideas. If there were 10 people, that's potentially 150 ideas. I'm sure there would be some overlap, right? Maybe altogether we have 80. That's still 80 ideas that we can sift through now. And the really interesting thing is different people in different roles and different departments will naturally think of different solutions because they see the problem differently. This is really powerful, guys. So that's how we apply this kind of tool. Now, and typically we don't do this just once, right? We'll keep doing this and we teach you how to do this and help facilitate it so that this becomes a normal routine for how you as a company identify issues, right? And then start the problem solving. Now, if we're invited to the party, so to speak, as a consultant, you get that added benefit, the added benefit of having a consultant. And by the way, if you haven't heard, DesignPoint's been using consultants for about a decade, right? So when we're trying to solve our biggest problems and go after our biggest opportunities, we bring consultants in. Why? Because those consultants are not in any way married to our existing systems and processes. They just don't care. Now, if I personally built some system or process here, right, and I know I put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into it, naturally, I'm going to be so invested, it's going to be hard for me to give that up, right? But a consultant won't have that baggage, right, that they carry. They'll look at it and go, why are you doing it that way? Well, the answer is, well, that's the way we decided to do it 6 years ago when I developed it. Oh, well, have you looked at any other way to do it? Has your business changed in any way that might mean that there's a better way today than there was 6 years ago? Probably, right? So that's the benefit to, I'm trying to teach you a tool you can use on your own and then show you the benefit of bringing us into it, right? We're going to see it through a different lens. We're going to have ideas that may be different. We're going to challenge that conventional wisdom, okay? That's our job. That's how we add value. So I wanted to share this little graphic here. So what if, we talked through some of this already, what if you did this as a group? What if you guys did an exercise like this once a quarter? Remember, if you were in the previous session, one of the things I harped on was continuous improvement, making things better without interruption, right? It's just not what companies do. The vast majority of companies, even those companies that have people that have titles and responsibilities related to continuous improvement, it's even written in their job description, right? Even those companies, most of them run along at their normal pace until they run into a problem, they solve it, and they may have a very good process for problem solving, and then they execute their solution. And then they get back into cruise control until they find the next problem. That's not what we're trying to do here, guys. We're trying to teach you and educate you how to use these tools to get into a regular cadence of using these tools to identify, focus, and execute, okay? And again, I'm going to go back to what if you had a consultant help you facilitate that, okay? So I mentioned this before, we can act as a Sherpa or a guide, help you climb the mountain, right? Find the right path. I wanted to point out, in case you missed the previous presentation, that there's a couple things here. If you haven't found them, if you click on the lounge button, it will actually go to the page that you're seeing now on the slide. And then there's more. There's a chat window here. If you haven't found it, that's where it is, in case you want to reach out to me if you have any questions. And also want to point out that if you click on this button here, the free business consultation, you have the opportunity to get a 1-hour consultation from us. And also, if you are trying to earn some points today, this is a high point value click. So I would encourage you to click on that button. And that's all I had for today. So if you have any questions, I'm open.
Amazing. We have 3 minutes if you guys want to drop anything in the chat or the Q&A, or if you're brave and you want to speak out loud, that too. While we wait for some of those to come in, I thought that exercise was great, Brett. I know for me, I struggle with, I can't just think of an idea. I go steps beyond always. So I'm like my own obstacle. So I'm like, there's this, which means you have to do this, 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 and this. So forcing somebody to just, no, you're just thinking about the solutions, not the how, is great. Justin, will this video be available later to watch again or share? You better believe it. Everything is being recorded. I should have things turned around and definitely ready by next week. You can ping me directly if you'd like, but definitely by next week, all our registrants will receive this information. Anybody else?
Well, let me say before we close that we really appreciate you carving out some time today for us. I know these virtual events aren't nearly as engaging as in-person events. It's hard for us too, believe it or not. I'm staring at a camera, I can't see anybody's face, can't see any feedback. So it's hard for us too, but thank you for carving out time and investing with us today. Looks like there may be one more question.
Well, someone from DesignPoint is hysterical and just let everyone know in the chat that our keynote is coming up. So yes, thank you. We do have a keynote presentation at 3 p.m. Jeff Woods will be talking about the one thing. So stay tuned, and we're getting a lot of thank yous. So that's directed towards you, Brett. So yeah, thank you, Brett. Thank you all for being here. And if that's it, I think it's a wrap.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.
Bye.